It feels like I'm kind of waking up out of a bad dream. A dream where I thought that I had all of the answers figured out. A dream where I thought that if I just believed hard enough and I just gave everything to this search, to this path, then I would get the outcome that I wanted. Then life would start to make sense, Then my soulmate would come and my career would take off and I would be eternally happy. But these are all just beliefs. And the spiritual world is such an intoxication for those who are looking for deeper meaning in life, because this spiritual industry claims to have the answers. Religion claims to have the answers. The New Age claims to have the answers. And now what you see is really just a whole mishmash bunch of spiritual beliefs all kind of conglomerated together, particularly with the Eastern religions and the New Age movement and shamanic plant medicine from South and Central America, to the point where, people that are really authentically looking for truth, they're really looking for this peace and this happiness through spiritual awakening. There's just such a marketplace of information and beliefs out there that it's just like, okay, I'll take some of that. Okay, I'll take some of that. I'll pop a little bit of that in my back pocket. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I'll do that course, or oh, I'll do that retreat, or take that online program, or look at this guy's YouTube video, He's very attractive. He must know what he's talking about. But the biggest misconception on the spiritual path, and I don't even like calling it a path anymore, but you know what I mean, this spiritual search, this spiritual seeking, the biggest misconception of it is that there is somewhere to get to. And I remember hearing this in the beginning of my search as well. There's nowhere to get to. You already have it. It's already right here. But that is not so appealing to the mind. The mind wants to create meaning of things, and it wants to latch onto something, and it wants a direction, a label, something to do, something to achieve, something to get to, something to name, something to hold in your hand or feel a result from. But true spiritual awakening is actually, you can't grab onto it. You can't achieve it, You can't taste it, you can't touch it, you can't feel it, because it's already here. It is what is looking out of your eyes. It's what is hearing the words that I'm speaking right now. There's nothing to achieve. There's nothing to gain. And while these spiritual teachers, oftentimes they'll say things like that, but then they'll also say, come to my retreat, here's a bunch of guided meditations. Here's 50,000 videos on non-duality where I'm intellectualizing concepts of what you truly are and speaking this beautiful poetry about what your true nature is. And, that can open our heart, of course. That can make us feel happy and inspired for a short period. And of course, it is trying to point towards the true nature of self, the awakened state, which is already here. But the problem is that it is using words to do it. And words exist in the world, words and thought exist in the world of time, past and present. Okay? But what we're seeking for, what we think we're seeking for anyway, but there's nothing really to seek or to find, is this moment. It's this simple. It's right here. It is the space that's looking out from you. But it's almost as if for many of us, the awakening and spirituality is something that is, it's these concepts have been around for thousands of years. There's nothing new to it. But it's only been recently that it has been such an accessible teaching because of the internet, right? And because of books and stuff. But typically the internet, this information is, anyone can find this information about non-duality and what we really are. And so those of us who naturally find ourselves inclined towards this field of study or this interest are going to put our hearts into it. And because we're coming out of thousands of years of conditioning, it is extremely natural for us to just not really believe that it can be that simple of just seeing what's here. Okay? So it's almost as if the spiritual search, the spiritual path, this kind of journey that we love to romanticize and call divine and sacred, is really just a process of suffering to wear down the mind enough for it to actually just give up and surrender to what is. Okay? So you feel like you're making progress, okay, I'm meditating, I'm taming my mind, the thought forms are slowing down, I'm more present in my body, I've processed all of my childhood stuff, or a good portion of it, I've sent that apology letter to my ex-partner, and I'm doing the right thing, I'm acting with morality. And all of these things are beautiful, but they have nothing to do with spiritual awakening. Okay? God, the truth, it is not moral, okay? Morality exists within it, but it is not inherently moral. It does not require morality in order to see it, okay? The thief and the saint are made of the same thing. They are both made of this space that we cannot give a name to because it is part of the wordless experience of life that exists in a dimension, that transcends language. And so this spiritual search, it's really just another expression of suffering. It's just another, there's that book, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, and I haven't read it, but the title kind of says all that you need to know about what the book is about, Probably some really successful guy who realized that money wasn't doing it for him, so he gave all his possessions away and committed his life to God, which it really means committed his life to the spiritual search of awakening, to transcend duality, which is really no different than the search for money. Did I say that? Did I equate the spiritual journey, this sacred, holy path of spiritual seeking and living in ashrams and meditating and connecting with your guides and healing your past, to this lowly search for money and acquiring material possessions? Oh, are you offended? The thing is that what they both have in common is that they're both looking for an outcome. It's both, if I do this, then I will get here. Okay? And that's not, I'm sorry, but that's just not the spiritual search. That's just not how it works. There's no stages, there's no different densities that you're evolving into, That's part of the play. Spiritual awakening is about coming out of the play. It's about transcending the play and kind of stepping behind the curtain and experiencing the wordless experience that I am all that is. I am the source of this reality. It's all coming from me, and it's always been coming from me, and there's nothing that I can do for it to not come from me. There's nothing that I can do to lose it. There's nothing that I can do to gain more of it. It's not even something to gain or to lose. It's not even a substance. It's not even an it. It's the compilation of everything, and the one that experiences that compilation at the same time, and recognizing that power. You can't touch it though. It's not a space even. We have to use words though. So what the spiritual journey really does is it actually takes you out of that isness, of that directness of life. And it kind of creates this illusion, even though there's many teachings that say it's already here, it's already here, it's already here. But then they pair it with read the Bhagavad Gita, become a yoga teacher, It's never just it's already here, look at it right now and that's it. And that's all you have to do. It's tame the mind, it's practice, it's be a good person, right? So what I've experienced really is in this ardent spiritual search for truth and to awaken, because I always sensed that there was something deeper to life. I always sensed that I was missing something, that I had a distant memory of this potential of love that existed within life, that I wanted to access it, and something wasn't right, And so you begin seeking. But I always felt that. I always knew there was more. And all me and many other people had to go on was this instinct, was this kind of subtle prayer that was in me ever since I was a child, and doesn't have to be in you since you were a child. It can emerge gradually with life. But this intuition that there's something that I have to find, right? And so, of course, you talk to people, they're older, they're more mature, they have other experiences, and they say, this is the way, follow the way, do this, do that. And I've only had one person in my life just recently point directly to what it was that I was looking for and said, stop, let go. Don't meditate anymore unless you want to. There's nothing that you need to do. It's right here. Here's how you find it. Stay here. That's it. Because everything else is just thought. Everything else is just rules and beliefs and another wild goose chase, hamster wheel maze experience that just keeps you in the suffering because you're projecting your effort into leading you towards a better moment. Okay. So my big message today is that spirituality, the study of spirituality, the books, the practices, all of that is not actually the end game of spirituality. Okay? The end game of spirituality is when you let that go. When you stop thinking that freedom is something that you need to earn, that it's something that you need to develop or find in another moment, or that you can't find it because of something bad that you did in the past. No. That thinking, it's not even deterring you from spiritual awakening. It's actually separating you further and further because it's just filling your mind with more thought, keeping you trapped in the identity of thinking, in the belief systems, in the constructs that form within your subconscious mind that's saying, this is how it is. If I do this, this will happen. But the truth is, nobody knows what is going on. Okay? So come into this moment, come into this space right here, this space here that's hearing me, that's seeing my face. This is liberation. It's not in a book. It's right here. And it is a beautiful journey when you realize that, okay, that's why none of this is working. I'm getting the glimpses, I'm getting the, expansive love moments, short period, I'm feeling calm, maybe I'm more forgiving, or my mind is balanced, or whatever. You can improve things, but it's really not the juice that you really want. You want the eternal, you don't want the temporary. So come to the eternal now, and that is only in the now. The eternal now is in the now. Where else could it be? Blessings, everyone. Thank you for listening.